Welcome to MMA Fancast. My name is Luke Basin, and I am joined by first-time guest of the show, professional MMA fighter, Cody Matthews. Cody, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Luke.
It's great having you on the show. You've got a big fight coming up with a lot of expectation. A lot of people are excited about it. April 15th, just under a month away, Brawlenberg 16 for 247 Fighting Championships at the Hollywood Casino at the Meadows. You're taking on what I think we can all say is the hometown favorite in Victor LiPari, who actually currently lives in Las Vegas, but he's from 84, which is right there, I believe. And a lot of people are excited to see him. And obviously you have to be a part of that. So let's jump in there. What made you train at Bauer House? I had Anthony Hogebeck on the show. He said you're the best 2-2 pro fighter he knows at 125, which I've seen before. Justin the General Patton, who's going to be fighting on the same card with you, he was 2-2 pro, very, very good. Ended up impressing in his last fight, and now he's 3-2. So first of all, what made you take the fight coming in, knowing that you're going to be fighting the hometown guy? Obviously, Maryland's not that far away, but what makes you excited about this fight?
He's a high level wrestler, 3-0 out of a big name gym. He's an extreme couture guy. Mm-hmm. Maryland, I'm less than 2 hours away from Hollywood Casino, so it's not bad, but he is the hometown guy. He's flying in from Vegas, but he's from the area. The fight was really interesting to me. Like I said, undefeated guy, tough wrestler. It's a good chance for me to, make a name for myself, because he kind of has that 3-0 record. And I said, how Anthony said, I have a 2-2 record, so it's something I kind of have to build up. Has split decision loss my pro debut after having a 6-0, 6-finish AMI record, and then went up to Bellator and ended up losing the fight there. So, wasn't the start that I wanted, but it's all right. I've got back in there in August, had a big knockout win there to be able to come back on, and ready to kind of keep the ball rolling on that one.
Well, I think that's a very straightforward and great answer. And it also makes sense. We've seen it, the pro ranks, you never know who you're going to fight as far as where they're going to end up. And so it's kind of exciting, a 2-2 record. Obviously, I think the follow-up question would be, you were 1-2 going into your last fight where you won by knockout. So congrats to you on that. What, as a 1-2 pro, 6-0 amateur, so clearly you have a lot of skill. What did you kind of tweak, or was it a mindset? What helped you go from a 1-2 pro to a big knockout to be where you are now?
There was a lot that changed, but I'm out of two gyms. I'm out of Ryoma Academy in Frostburg. I'm out of Bauer House in Frederick, Maryland. So getting up in Bauer House, I have a few more guys my size to work with. Working with Terry Bartholomew, Mark Ugulamini, some other guys my size. So that really helped me out. Coach Rob McGraw helping me out on my cage work. I'm a pretty high level wrestler, but there's some things here and there he shows me for MMA. So that's something that helped me a lot, just having those high level guys my size to work with. But like I said, the 1-2 record maybe wasn't really representative of my skill level, but I knew, as anyone like that does it, you have to make some little changes, and you go to lose again, you're 1-3. It's a long climb back for sure.
Well, I think that shows a lot of toughness, and obviously the mental focus to be able to get back in there. And I appreciate you breaking down some of the technique stuff, some of the training, getting better training partners that are more your size to be able to work with. Clearly making the adjustments. It's a cliche, but it's true. You win or you learn. And in your case, you did your learning early, which I don't think is bad, and you're getting the ball rolling. You've mentioned taking out a guy who's 3-0, trains at a big name gym. We've seen it done before where somebody is then recognized because their talent level, and who they beat goes up. Only 2 hours away. So are you expecting some people to make the trip, or is this going to be more of a streaming thing for them?
A lot of people stream my fights, but this one's a little closer. I might get, let's say I might get 25 people out. So, I might get a decent crowd between, I train here in Frostburg and also down in Frederick, which is about an hour and a half away. So it's like I have two different groups of people that'll be coming
Um,
along. So I'll put it out there for sure. I don't think it's going to be quite the size of what LiPari's is going to be, but I'll definitely have some fans in the crowd.
well, I always ask that question because I've gone to events where other than the corners, the fighters have nobody, and they come out, they get announced, which I always try to clap, if they have nobody other than the corners. But it is cool that you'll have some people there. The venue is gonna be rocking. The whole card is incredible. There's a pro title fight, 145 for Ethan Wolverine Goss and his opponent. So it's gonna be a great night. Obviously, you have Anthony Hogebeck. Do you have any other teammates on that card, or is it basically you and Anthony?
I think for this one here, it's going to be just me and Anthony. I had some other guys looking to get on the card, but it's a pretty stacked card already. I think they're going to have trouble fitting anything else on it.
Yeah, and that's not the typical statement. It really is a stack card. I've heard that the matches are in the kind of mid to high teens as far as numbers go. We'll see how many shake out what actually happens. Jim Mooney is an incredible matchmaker for 247, and Hunter the GM does a lot. But yeah, I mean, April 15th, there's a ton of people still looking to get on that card. It's exciting that you obviously a featured pro on that event, and you are the co-main event. So it's actually you're either the co-main event or there's another. I never know until it's actually posted. So I don't mean to spoil anything. There's 3 pro fights that I know of. So
I was gonna say I wasn't sure either. I was like, oh, I'm the co-main. That's nice. I wasn't sure.
Actually, I'm not sure because I know the main. See, this sometimes I get in trouble. I
just
never know until the official list is posted. You're one of the 3 pro fighters. There's a title fight that'll be the main event, and then either you and Victor LiPari, or I already mentioned him, Justin the General Patton and his opponent. And Justin's done a lot of co-main eventing, so I don't know how they'll organize that. But it's still exciting when an event is stacked from curtain jerker at the very beginning to the very end. Doesn't really matter where you fight in the card. I've talked, you fought for Bellator, so sometimes bigger shows like UFC and Bellator. I know Bellator is known for doing dark fights where the fight's legit, it counts, but it's after the main event ends and everybody kind of clears out more or less. And, people end up fighting very late in the morning, but it's kind of like a prelim that got pushed to dark fight. So the fight still matters regardless of when it happens. Obviously, you're going to be a huge focus. Given the fact that you have a lot of attention on this fight, do you have a lot of sponsors? Do you have people you need to thank? Obviously, your gyms, but do you have people getting behind you? Because that's a big part. I want to make sure that you can thank them because obviously you're climbing the ladder. A win against Victor would be a huge deal, and even give more wind in your sails.
Yeah. I mean, there's always a lot of people, individuals, just people that follow me, always supporting me, making it, a lot easier to train. And then also I got my sponsors. I have Il Forno in Frederick. It's a pizza place, great place for everyone in the area to check out. Happiness is Balance, and Allie, she's another sponsor of mine. Got the Fitted Joint and Pine on the Joint, 2 guys or 2 people who have done my shirts for a very long time. Well, it's a group of guys really, but they've always been huge supporters of me and of MMA. Got Grizzlies Hardcore Fitness, gym I've trained out of ever since I was starting off boxing back when I was 18. It was the only 24-hour gym around that had heavy bag around, so I'd get off work at 10 and be there lifting and working out, hitting the bag till midnight, 1, whenever it might be. Try not to leave anybody out here. So I think that was most of them. But yeah, no, definitely always have a lot of sponsors that are helping me out with all that. And then the people that are willing to, make the trip up to outside of Pittsburgh to, get my sponsors. Also, Hannah Perez. Can't leave out Hannah. Don't want to leave her hanging. Hannah Perez and her realtor business. So
well, I'm glad to hear that you have a good amount of support and sponsorship behind you. Obviously, I know sometimes I put people on the spot, but I just know every fighter, particularly the amateurs and the early developing pros like you, every sponsor really matters, makes a big difference in your training. So I always want to give time for that. Also kind of cool. I guess we can jump backwards now, since you mentioned being 18 and punching a heavy bag at 1 a.m. What led you into the original MMA when you went on that 6-0 amateur record there? Was it jiu-jitsu? Was it the boxing? Like, what got you into MMA a few years back before you were even officially fighting?
So I had wrestled since I was about 10, wrestled all throughout high school. Um, you know, competed in wrestling very, very often. It's all pretty much all that I knew growing up. Wanted to go wrestle D1, had the opportunity to go D1, and then at the time kind of thought, I don't know if this is what I want to keep pursuing, just because I'd done it so long and so much, and I kind of burned myself out. I didn't have any coaches or parents burned me out, but I think I kind of did it to myself. And I was like, I want to change things up a little bit. I think I want to go into MMA. It's like, I know how to take people down. I want to start boxing. So I was one of the local pros, Eric Preston at the time, and was doing a good bit of boxing work, did some tough man competitions, won two tough mans. And then at the same time I was transitioning into MMA, I had ran into Brent Walter, who's one of my friends and my coach, and was up at Ryoma Academy. So that's when I started getting into jiu-jitsu, started getting my kickboxing down. Then started fighting through Cagezilla, Cowboy Fight Series to end it off with. And yeah, but no, it really all just came from wrestling. I wrestled it from the age of 10 to 17. And now I coach that same high school wrestling team, which is interesting.
Well, what is that high school name? And talk a little bit about what it's like to be coaching the same high school that you went to. And that's kind of a cool coming full circle.
Yeah. So I wrestled at Mountain Ridge High School in Frostburg, and my coach finally retired 2 years ago. And me and two other guys at the time took over the team, and we were all young. I was the oldest of the three, and I was 24. The other guy was 20. The other guy was 21. So there was coaches out there that were older than all three of us combined. I'd always helped out with the team since I graduated at 18. So I had a little bit of coaching experience to me, but really running a whole team for a full season is a bit different, trying to add that into everything else that you're doing in your life. But I enjoy it immensely. I love coaching. I love being able to help the kids out. And, it's something I don't think I'm ever going to quit, because people every year are like, are you going to be back next year? I said, I've been helping coach since I was 18 years old. I said, I'll be here till I'm dead, I think. So I don't mind.
But it is a difference, like you said, being an assistant coach to being a head coach. Sounds like are you like a three-way head coach? Are there three head coaches?
Yes, there's four of us now, and we kind of all chip in and do it. So still young. I think we're 24, 25, and the other two guys are like 26, 27 now. So it's like, yeah, we're all figuring it out, but we got a decent program going, and I think that we're a young team that's going to be growing in the future. But yeah, coaching all the time and not just coming in and helping out some techniques here and there. There's a big difference to it.
There is, and we could talk a lot about that. I've coached at the college level for track and field, not wrestling, but there's a lot of development you have to kind of think of. Like you said, it's great when you could come in when you were younger and do more techniques and drills like that. But when you're one of the head coaches, you're starting to come up with the whole big picture, and then breaking it down from there. That is super cool. I always ask the question to coaches who are actively participating and competing like you are. What do you think you've picked up the most since you graduated as a coach? Is it some technical things that you've had to explain in wrestling that has helped you, or is it more sort of mindset stuff? Because I think coaching really does help quite a bit.
It's I think it helped from a personal level. It helped my understanding of technique, because I would be doing like one-on-ones with people, and we'd be wrestling live, and they'd say, "Oh, how'd you do that move?" I said, "I don't know. No one's ever asked me before. I just kind of hit it." So I'd have to stop and slowly run through, how everything works. So I was kind of teaching myself the small details of some of my stuff as I was helping them out. And just being able to explain all the little details, it kind of helps it helps you out whenever you're in those same positions. But it is also a big, from a coaching standpoint, you have to make sure that they're mentally prepared too. You know, wrestling, any combat sport, any sport in general, you know, it's going to be a lot of mentality to it. If they don't have the mentality, then it's kind of hard. You can have a really good wrestler, but if they get in their head before every match, they're going to lose to guys that they're better than.
Yeah. Well, and that goes the same thing with any of the combat sports, or any sports in general, but for sure combat sports. And so that's why it's exciting, and that's why I love the fact that we talked about your mentality right before your first fight, your last fight, most recent fight, when you won by knockout, because that's really a mentality fight, right? Where you got to go in and win in the cage, but you got to also win the head game before you get into the cage.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where I had a amateur fighter ask me today, actually said, were you nervous before your first fight? And I said, yeah, you know, before my first one or two, I was a bit nervous, but everyone's different. It's all how you use it. You know, I'm a very calm fighter. I don't have nerves before a fight. I don't have nerves in the cage. It's just how I am. You have other guys that are going to throw up before they fight. But it all just depends on how you kind of control your emotions.
Sure. Well, I really appreciate you coming on. You usually don't cover as much, but I love the fact that we got your background. What's the name of your high school
Mountain Ridge.
that you coach at? Mountain Ridge.
Yeah.
So cool. That is really neat. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, and it's always great to talk. I mean, you've got an incredible opportunity coming up. It's gonna be fantastic for everybody listening to this. Either get tickets directly from Cody Matthews if you're making the trip up, that'll help him out, or when you're streaming on 247 Live and you go for the pay-per-view, make sure you give him credit as the fighter, because that helps him out, and it'll always be super exciting. 247 Live, the app, is starting to really grow as a great platform for a lot of combat sports stuff. So super excited having you on. I appreciate it. Can't wait to see you live in action for Brawl in the Berg 16 247 Fighting Championships, April 15th at the Hollywood Casino at the Meadows. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Luke.
You take care. Can't wait to see you live in action April 15th. Best skills to you.
Thank you.
You got it.